Hello, my name is Mariana Vasquez, and this is my evidence number 3 of human body care. In this project, I'm going to talk about the female and male reproductive system, the birth control, and the STDs. First, I will start with the structure of male reproductive system and the function of each of the organs. The penis, in addition to its sexual function, the penis acts as a conduct for urine to leave the body. The testes produce sperm and hormones. The scrotum has a protective function and acts as a climate control system for the testes. Vasa deferentia transports sperm from the epididymis to ejaculatory ducts for the production of ejaculation. Epididymis. It transports and stores sperm cells that are produced in the testes. Bulbourethral gland add fluids to semen during the process of ejaculation. The prostate gland, it creates prostate fluids, one of the components of semen. Seminal vesicle is part of semen and produces glucose and helps more to the semen. And finally, the urethra. That is a tube that carries urine from the bladder or testicles to outside of the body. The path that the sperm follow from the testes to the urethra starts when the sperm leaves the testicle, travels the entire vas deferens, enters to the seminal vesicle, passes through the prostate, and finally continues through the urethra to exit. Hormonal control of the male reproductive system. The hypothalamus ultimately controls the functions of the testes because it secretes a hormone called gonadotropin releasing hormone, GnRH, that stimulates the pituitary gland to secrete the gonadotropic hormone that controls the testes. There are two types of GnRH, the follicle-stimulated hormone, FSH, and the luteinizing hormone, LH. In males, FSH promotes the production of sperm in the seminiferous tubes. Now I'm going to talk about the female reproductive system and the functions of each of the organs. First, we have the ovaries that produce oocytes and the reproductive hormones. One of the functions of the uterus includes nurturing the fertilized ovum that develops into the fetus and holding it till the baby is mature enough for the birth. The endometrium is the innermost lining layer of the uterus and functions to prevent the adhesions between the opposite walls of the myometrium, thereby maintaining the patency of the uterine cavity. The cervix allows the flow of menstrual blood from the uterus into the vagina and direct the sperms into the uterus during intercourse. And finally, we have the vagina that receives the penis during sexual intercourse and also serves as a conduct for menstrual flow and urine out of the vagina. The female external genitals are composed by mons pubis, glans clitoris, labium majora and labium minora, opening of the urethra, and the opening of the vagina. If the ovum is fertilized, it becomes implanted in the endometrium. Implantation usually takes place 3 to 4 days after the young embryo reaches the uterus, 6 or 7 days after the egg was fertilized. Fertilization can only occur if the ovum and sperm are transported simultaneously to the ampullary isthmic junction. The oocytes are produced in the ovaries by a process called oogenesis. The oogenesis starts with the oviducts or fallopian tubes extended from the uterus to the ovaries. Rather, they end in finger-like projection called fimbria, that together with the ciliated lignin of the oviducts guides the egg into the oviducts and sweeps it toward to the uterus. Fertilization of the egg with their sperms takes place in the oviduct. The resulting zygote continues to divide as it travels towards the uterus, becoming an embryo. The embryo reaches the uterus in about 1 week. The hypothalamus sends a signal to the pituitary gland, and this sends a signal to the ovaries. This signal tells the ovaries to start producing eggs and also to start different physical changes like increase of breast, appearance of pubic hair, the start of menstrual cycle. With the menstrual cycle comes the emotion changes. This signal sent by the hypothalamus comes with the release of hormones that help to start the phase of puberty and to make some changes. Some of these hormones are in charge of the ovarian cycle and the uterine cycle. The hormones that are in charge of physical or emotional changes during puberty, which are secreted by the hypothalamus, are gonadotropin-releasing hormone. This hormone stimulates the release of other hormones that act in the ovaries to initiate and maintain their productive function. The levels of this hormone increase during puberty to trigger sexual maturation, ovarian cycle, and puberty. Oxytocin. This hormone in charge of some behavior, sexual arousal, recognition, and trust, and key aspects of the reproductive system in women like lactation and childbirth. Luteinizing hormone stimulates the ovaries to produce oestradiol. 2 weeks into a woman's cycle, surges in LH causes the ovaries to release an egg during ovulation. If fertilization occurs, LH will stimulate the corpus luteum, which produces progesterone to sustain the pregnancy. FSH. This hormone stimulates the development of follicle in the ovaries before it converts into an egg. This hormone is controlled by the number of circulating hormones released by the ovaries. This system is called the hypothalamic pituitary gland axis. FSH is released from the hypothalamus and binds the receptor to the anterior pituitary gland to stimulate both the synthesis and release the follicular hormone. The ovarian cycle is divided into 3 parts: the follicular phase, ovulation, and the luteal phase. The follicular phase starts on the first day of the period. During this phase of the menstrual cycle, the following events occur. 2 hormones, FSH and LH, are released from the brain and travel in the blood to the ovaries. As the estrogen level rise, like switch, it turns off the production of follicle-stimulating hormone. This careful balance of hormones allows the body to limit the number of follicles that mature. As the follicular phase progresses, one follicle in one ovary becomes dominant and continues to mature. This dominant follicle suppresses all of the other follicles in the group. As a result, they stop growing and die. The dominant follicle continues to produce estrogen. The estrogen spike causes the secretion of GnRH from the hypothalamus, which in turn causes a surge of LH from the anterior pituitary gland, resulting in ovulation on about day 14 of 28-day cycle. Ovulation is the release of the secondary oocyte from the follicle and into the oviduct. The luteal phase is the last phase of the menstrual cycle, or the earliest phase of the estrous cycle. It begins with the formation of the corpus luteum and ends in the pregnancy or luteolysis. The female hormone estrogen and progesterone produced by the ovaries during the ovarian cycle affects the endometrium, causing the uterus to undergo the cyclic change known as the uterine cycle. The uterine cycle can be divided into 3 parts: menstruation, the proliferative phase, and the secretory phase. Menstruation lasts from day 1 to about 5 days and consists of the breakdown of the endometrium with the blood passing out of the vagina. The low levels of the female sex hormone cause menstruation to occur. The proliferative phase is from 6 to 13 and consists of the build of the endometrium, which become more vascular and glandular. The proliferative phase is caused by the increased production of estrogen by the new developing follicle. And the secretory phase is from day 15 to 28 and consists of the endometrium doubling or tripling in thickness and uterine gland producing a thick mucus secretion. The secretion of progesterone by the corpus luteum causes the secretory phase. The endometrium is now prepared to receive a developing embryo. If fertilization doesn't occur, the corpus luteum will degenerate, resulting in lower levels of sexual hormones. That will lead to the breakdown of the endometrium and menstruation. The relationship between these 2 cycles is that both are divided into 3 parts. The ovarian cycle and menstrual cycle are part of the same process, but they are not the same. The ovarian cycle tells us how long an egg is viable while the menstrual cycle is the one from the first day of menstruation to the beginning of the next menstruation. Birth control methods are used to regulate the number of children a couple will have. First, we have abstinence. That is the most reliable birth control method we have, and it means not engaging in any sexual contact. Also, these have the advantage of prevent sexually transmitted disease. The birth control pills has hormones that are similar to those produced by the ovaries, causing an egg to be released to be fertilized. Some of the benefits of oral contraceptives are regulation of length of menstrual cycles and decreases menstrual flow. The contraceptive implant such as Implanon is a method that helps prevent pregnancy through a small plastic tube that is inserted into the inside of the arm, under the skin by the gynecologist, and they release hormones in the bloodstream, slowly preventing ovulation and hindering the entry of sperm into the woman's uterus. The intrauterine device known as IUD is a T-shaped plastic contraceptive method that is introduced into the uterus by a gynecologist and can remain about 5 years, maintaining its effectiveness. This contraceptive technique is very effective and does not cause discomfort, preventing pregnancy due to copper or release of hormones that hinder fertilization. Male and female condoms are excellent contraceptive methods to avoid pregnancy, as well as being the only method that protects against the spread of sexually transmitted diseases such as AIDS or syphilis. To be effective, it's necessary to place the condom correctly before each intimate contact, preventing direct contact between the penis and the vagina, preventing the sperm from reaching the uterus. Vaginal diaphragm is a ring-shaped rubber contraceptive method that prevents the entry of sperm into the uterus, preventing fertilization of the ovum. To be effective, the device must be placed about 30 minutes before intimate contact and extracted 12 hours after having sexual intercourse, and must be repeated every time there is an intimate contact, otherwise it's not effective. Contraceptive injections such as Depo-Provera, Ciclofem, or Ciclofemina should be applied to the muscle of the arm or leg once a month or 3 to 3 months by a nurse of pharmaceutics. The injection slowly releases hormones that prevent ovulation, but prolonged use can lead fertility, increase appetite, which can cause weight gain, as well as headache, acne, and hair loss. Next, we have the surgical sterilization. The most common means of sterilization in males is the vasectomy, in which part of each vas deferens is removed. Even though sperm production continues intestate, the sperm can no longer reach the exterior. In females, the sterilization is done by a tubal ligation in which both oviducts are tried off and then cut, resulting in the secondary oocyte being unable to pass through oviducts and sperm can reach the oocyte. And emergency contraception, also known as the morning after pills, contain relatively high levels of estrogens and progestin, which give negative feedback inhibition of SAH and LH secretion, causing the ovaries to create secretion of their estrogen and progesterone. These declining levels of estrogen and progesterone introduce the breakdown of endometrium, thereby blocking implantation. And this is all I think you have to know about the reproductive system and the anticonceptive methods. Thanks for watching, hope you like it.